Hello everyone and welcome back for another art lesson live from my home. These lessons are always geared towards furthering your education in the arts when we are here at home for this next foreseeable month. Today's lesson is going to be on another artist. Our focus is going to be on Jim Dine. Now, Jim Dine is an American pop artist known for his hearts. He has done artwork over his 50-year career. And when asked about how many hearts he's done, there's a quote out there talking about how he has done millions of hearts, which I think might be an exaggeration. But it's that idea that he uses hearts, a very simple object, as the foundation for his works. He says that his hearts are almost a template. It's a very simple object, but he can start to place his emotions and his feelings in his use of colors and his use of lines. So today we're going to play around with how we can use hearts as the foundation for some awesome artwork. Now today we're going to play around with a couple of different materials. Now depending on what you have available to you, you can kind of mix and match. If you notice, the title of this is Mixed Media Hearts, which means you are not limited to work with just one thing. You're not limited to work with just crayons or just markers or just anything. Jim Dine was known for using print and paint and all these different resources to create his artwork, so that's what I'm going to encourage you to do today. So right off the bat, just showing you a couple of things we have available here. Couple of things we have available. Our go-tos, we have crayons. You could do markers. I used my Sharpie to draw out my line. You can also use pencils. And then from there, today, when I'm doing mixed media, I'm going to play around with doing a watercolor resist. Now, if you don't have watercolors at home, that's fine. There's other ways to go about creating resists, and there's other ways to go about creating, some sort of a material that you can work with that kind of mirrors that effect, whether it's playing around with markers and water, whether that's creating your own watercolors from scratch, which can be done. So let's talk about what I'm going to work with today. So I have my crayons. I also have oil pastels. If oil pastels are available to you, I highly recommend breaking them out. They're a lot of fun. This is the pack that I like to use. They get really nice color. This is what you get. This is the pack that I work with from home. This is a fairly new one. I can put in a link if you're interested in ordering oil pastels. I can send you guys a link for that. Now, oil pastels have a much more vibrant or rich color than what you would see from a crayon. So crayons are lovely, but they're also more white. These oil pastels give you some really nice colors. Crayons will also do the trick. So what I've done is I started my piece by just creating a very simple heart shape. So if you look right here, this is my example that we're playing with. I started by doing just one large heart. It looks like you start with a C and it comes down to a point, and then you do a backward C and it comes down to a point, and that's how you get your hearts. Once I did one big heart, I then broke it down and added a couple of little hearts all around. So whatever you think would look nice for your space. Now from here, when I filled it in, I explored warm and cool colors, and I'm including a link in your resources today to a nice little video on what warm and cool colors are. But in a nutshell, warm colors are red, yellow, and orange. And these three colors make you think of things that are warm, like fire, or a candle, or the sun. And then in the background, we used cool colors. Now our background is anything that isn't a heart. So you can see our different hearts. Anything that is not a heart, I filled in with these colors here. And those colors are blues. Those colors are greens, those colors are purple. So those are cool colors that make you think of ice, that make you think of water, that make you think of things that are a little bit chillier. So that is where you get your warm and your cool colors. Now from there, we're gonna go ahead and play around with blending and mixing our lines with our oil pastels. If you notice, in these ones right here, I went up and down, and I worked my way across. And I very simply took an oil pastel and just went up and down and went all the way across. And then I switched to a light orange, a dark orange, a red. And in the other direction, I did a light orange, a dark orange, a red. And once I did it once, I then went back and did another layer of it, just to kind of play around with those colors. I then played around with mixing my different warm colors in the smaller hearts. These all have 2 or 3 different colors in theirs. This little guy just has some red. And you can start to play around with fun lines. Oil pastels. Pastels definitely like to be blended. From there, we played around with the background, also playing with oil pastels, but this time I was a little bit more loose with my lines. So with my lines in the background, I played around with going different directions. I played around with putting some space between my marks, and you get these really fun designs. Now the reason why I wanted some space between them is so that when I do my resist, you can still see the paper that peeks through. Now a watercolor resist, and like I said, I'll include links on this as we continue. I'm going to turn that down just a little so you can see. There we go. A watercolor resist allows us to add watercolor on top of our crayon or oil pastel. So I'm going to take my my watercolors. I'm going to add a little water to the colors I want to use. So I'm going to add a little bit here to the blues and the greens. Water cup here, paper towel here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play around with painting those colors directly on top. Now, as I do it, you'll notice the oil pastel is resisting the watercolor. So the oil-based oil pastel is resisting my water, and therefore my colors are sticking around. I'll add a little bit of blue here just so you can see. I'm going to go ahead and fill this in here. And I'm going through and I am just filling up my space. But my purple isn't going anywhere. My blues and greens aren't going anywhere, and you're getting this really cool final product. And I can blend those colors together. So I'll get to a stopping point here, going around here, and there. Now sometimes you might see some little puddles kind of forming. Very simply, you can take a paper towel and get rid of them. Sometimes the paper towel leaves a texture, so you might want to smooth that back out with your brush. But I'm just going to go through here, and I'm just going to kind of pick up a couple of the big puddles. I don't mind if the texture is left behind from the paper towel. I actually think the texture makes it more interesting. But let's take a look at what happens right here. This is what you start to get. It looks super, super cool, very, very simple. And what we've gone through, and we've added some color in here. So this is step 1 and step 2 if you want to play with the watercolor resist. Other options that are available to you, you could always paint the outline around your heart. You could always add foamies or stickers or something fun on top. You could add stamps on top. These are some examples from when I was over at Bay Arts that you can check out. So with this one here, all the basics, I did the acrylic paint on top to outline. This one here I really like to share because this one is a little bit different. Instead of doing one big heart, we did 9 little hearts, and I just broke my space up into 9, and then each heart had its own personality. And I used crayons, and I used acrylics, and I used my Sharpies, and I drew in things like little hearts or polka dots or stripes or zigzags or spirals or little marks around it, so you can kind of start to add and make it your own. The last thing I want to point out is that this technique is not just limited to hearts. Let's say hearts aren't your thing. With this technique, we traced snowflakes. Here's another example of that, where we trace snowflakes, and you can also get some equally cool results. So option 1 is one big heart with a bunch of little hearts. Option 2, maybe making more of a grid style. And then from there, play with the warm colors, play with the cool colors. Jim Dine used color lines to show emotion. So when you're feeling happy, how would your colors look? When you're feeling sad, how do the colors look? When you're stuck at home in a quarantine, how do you feel? Let's figure how that would look in color. So you can start to think about how colors might play to your design. So very simple lesson. Jim Dine, the artist of hearts, a bunch of different simple techniques, mixed media, use whatever's available to you and make it your own, and you can get a really cool final product. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you have any requests, as always, keep sending them my way. I love filling your guys' requests. More videos to come. And as always, stay safe, make good choices, happy creating. Have a wonderful day, guys. Enjoy.